What documents will I need during a mortgage application? It's a question that almost everyone asks and something that most people worry about. So today we're going to break it all down for you. But first of all, if you don't know who I am and you're wondering why should I listen to you, well, that's up to you. But my name's Josh Tomlinson. I'm the managing director of My Mortgage Finder, and we are a bad credit mortgage brokerage. We help people arrange about £100 million worth of bad credit mortgages every single year, and we have a team of over 30. Now, just a couple of things to mention first of all. In today's video, I'll be covering what mortgage documents that you would need to provide to a mortgage broker. If you were approaching a mortgage lender directly, it might be slightly different. Now, if you don't know what a mortgage broker is, just very quickly, a mortgage broker is somebody who works with multiple lenders, and their job is to try and find you the most appropriate option for your needs. Now, there are some mortgage lenders that actually don't require any mortgage documentation these days, and that's really down to the use of AI and open banking, which is just where they can look at your banking information with your consent, of course, remotely. But that's not the norm. So today we're going to be covering some of the more common types of documents that you are likely to be asked for during a mortgage application. And it is just worth bearing in mind as well, if you are using a mortgage broker, even if the mortgage lender doesn't ask for documents, it's highly likely that the mortgage broker will need to see some documents anyway, because they do have their own checks that they need to satisfy. The final thing I'll mention before we start going through the documents that you might need is there will be certain documents that we're not covering today that the mortgage lender could ask for. And that's just really because the mortgage lender, they can really ask for absolutely anything that they need to help them feel comfortable enough to lend you the money that you need for the mortgage. So, like I said, today we'll just be focusing on the main things and the most common things that you're likely to be asked for. Okay, so the first document is going to be proof of identity, and that's because it's probably going to be something that you're asked for in every single situation. And what do I mean by proof of identity? There are two key documents that people will look for when asking for this, or mortgage brokers will look for. The first one is a passport, because they will need photo identification. So an in-date and a valid passport is the first thing. And the second thing they could ask for is a driver's license. Okay, again, it's a photo identification. Now, if you don't have either of those two things, that could restrict your options, because most mortgage lenders will want to have a form of photo ID. However, if you don't have that, then you may be able to have a birth certificate accepted alongside some more supplementary documentation. So the second thing that we're going to talk about here is proof of income. Let's first of all cover what this would look like if you're employed. And that's because that's the category that most people fall into. So if you're employed, they're going to be asking you for pay slips, okay? And they're normally going to ask for at least 3 months worth of pay slips. Now, it is possible that the mortgage lender might ask to see a longer period than this, perhaps 6 months, perhaps 12 months. And that's really going to be the case if you have additional variable income on top of your employed salary. For example, you might have your employed salary of, let's say, 30,000, but then you might consistently receive overtime on top of that. Or you might receive commission or a bonus or something like shift allowance. The point I'm getting at here is any variable type of income, it's likely that they're going to want to see evidence that that is sustainable over a longer period of time. And of course, the way they do that is by more pay slips. Or they might just ask to see your pay slips in line with a P60, okay? So basically more pay slips or pay slips and a P60 will just help build that evidence together. Now, if you're self-employed, the documents that you're going to need to provide are going to be a little bit different. For example, if you may be a sole trader, then you're going to need to provide your tax calculations and then your tax year overviews, which basically are forms or documents that build up part of your tax return. You're going to need to provide at least 1 year's worth of this, but normally it's going to need to be 2 to 3. Now, if you are maybe a limited company owner, then you're going to need to provide those documents, but you're probably also going to need to also provide your filed company accounts. Again, at least 1 year, but more than likely 2 to 3. And supplementary to both of these things, so whether you're a sole trader or you're a limited company owner, it's also highly likely that you're going to need to provide your business bank statements. Don't panic if you're a sole trader and you don't technically have a business account, because I do appreciate a lot of people just use their personal account for this or a non-business account. That's not really going to be a big problem for lenders if you're a sole trader, but just what they are going to want to see is the lender will probably want to have a look through your business bank statements and just verify that there is actually income coming into that bank account. It is also possible that the mortgage lender will want to have the details of your accountant, of course, if you have one. And sometimes what the mortgage lender will ask for is an accountant's reference. This might be on a certificate that the mortgage lender will provide to you that you can then give to the mortgage lender and the accountant can fill in on your behalf. That might ask for sort of really just for them to confirm previous year's figures, this year's figures, potentially an estimation for next year as well. And this is normally going to be asked for if you're maybe just providing 1 year's worth of business data. Again, most mortgage lenders don't work off 1 year, most work off 2. So if you are going with a mortgage lender and they're saying, fine, we can look at just 1 year's worth of data, then it's highly likely they're going to ask for some form of accountant's reference to supplement that. So the next thing we're going to talk about is proof of employment. Now, just to be clear, normally the pay slips that we've already covered, this will normally be enough for your proof of employment, but there are occasions where a mortgage lender would want to see a little bit more. And basically what a little bit more looks like is an employment contract. Typical times that this might be asked for is if you've only been working for your employer for quite a short period of time, maybe a month or 2 months, or maybe you're just inside your probation period, then it's a good chance they might ask for this employment contract. So obviously that's something that you'll be able to get from your employer. Another example of when a mortgage lender might want to see an employment contract, let's say that you have an additional type of income on top of your basic salary that we have stated is guaranteed, then their mortgage lender is well within the rights to say, great, let's have a look at the employment contract and let's just see that it's stated within that employment contract that the money that you're stating is guaranteed is documented within that contract. Just one other thing finally to add when it comes to employment details is the mortgage lender occasionally might ask for your employer's contact details, and that is just so if they wish to validate that you do actually work there, then they can do that. So the next thing we're going to talk about is different type of statements that you need to provide, such as bank statements. That's the first thing that we'll talk about here. So bank statements, this is pretty much always going to be required in a mortgage application. And the reason that mortgage lenders will want to have a look at your bank statements, they'll want to be able to see that the amount that you're getting paid on your pay slips is actually getting credited into your bank account. They will also want to have a look at your spending habits. How much are you spending? What are you spending it on? If you have a deposit that's been accumulated through savings, they will more than likely want to see that gradual build-up of savings and how long it's been built up over. So that's another reason they'd want to look at your bank statements as well. Another statement you might be asked for if you are looking to remortgage your home, or potentially if you already have a home and you're buying a new home, it might be a copy of your mortgage statement. And the reason for that is the mortgage lender might want to validate what your mortgage balance is, and they'll also want to understand that all of your mortgage payments have been made on time as well. Another type of statement that you might be asked for, perhaps if you're renting and then you're looking to buy a home, it might be a copy of your rental statement, maybe if you're currently renting your property through a letting agent. And again, that's just so they can make sure that all of your rental payments have been made on time. Again, that's something that they might look in your bank statements for as well, just to see those consistent rental payments always been made on time. I guess if you're buying a home and you're going to be having a mortgage, the closest thing you're going to have to your mortgage payments is your rent payments. So it's going to be really important for that mortgage lender to see that they've been made consistently. Finally, other things to consider statement-wise could potentially be like credit card statements, particularly maybe if you're looking to raise money and pay off those credit cards, there's a good chance you're going to be asked for that. Or potentially a loan statement. You know, these statements can be asked for, again, just to verify the balances maybe have a look at the interest rate that you're paying, and just to have a good look at the payment history of those credit agreements. So do be prepared that you might be asked for these statements as well. Okay, so the next thing we're going to talk about is any details of the property that you're buying. So there are a few documents that you might be asked for around this. If you're buying a new build home, you might be asked for a sales contract. That's really just so the mortgage lender can view exactly what that looks like, what you're buying for, and any other particulars on there. Another thing that you might be asked for as well is if the mortgage lender requires an additional survey to be carried out, they may want to see proof of that survey. So they may want a copy of that, really, so they can see the work that potentially needs doing. So this is quite common, maybe when a mortgage lender has done a valuation of their own, and maybe it's picked up a couple of things going on that they're not really sure about and they want a closer look. So they might say, you need to go and get a specialist timber report, and you would need to go and get that report done and then ultimately provide that as evidence to the lender, and then ultimately they would make a decision whether they're happy to lend that mortgage. Also, just general property details, they are something that you're going to need to provide in every mortgage application. And just finally, a few other documents that you might be asked for. One might be your credit report. So most lenders, in fact, all lenders will do a credit check on you when you actually apply for a mortgage, but sometimes they might be struggling to pull certain information. So they might just ask for an up-to-date copy of your credit report. And just be prepared, this is something that most mortgage advisors are going to ask for as well, just so they can make sure they're placing you with the best lender. Another thing that you might be asked for could be if you're having money gifted to you from a family member or a friend, whoever that might be, you will be required to fill in a gifted declaration form, or they will be required to fill that in as well. Really, just for them to state that this is a gift and it's a non-repayable gift as well. So the mortgage lender will likely want to see proof of that. And just one other thing to mention as well, if you have had bad credit in the past, for example, let's say that you've had a county court judgment, maybe for a parking ticket 4 years ago, and it has been paid off, but it's not shown on your credit report that it has been, there's a very good chance they're going to ask for proof to see that it has been paid off there. So there you have it. There's some of the more common documents that you can expect to be asked for during a mortgage application. But it's really important to remember that even though we've given you a good idea of some of the documents that you will be asked for in today's video, the lender can pretty much turn around and ask for absolutely anything that they want, because ultimately it's their decision whether they're going to give you the mortgage or not, and they need to feel comfortable that what we're telling them is reality, and the only way they can do that is by gathering information and evidencing it through documentation. So thanks for watching. If you do have any questions on anything that we've covered at all today, feel free to pop those in the comments below. Alternatively, you can send us an email, and the email is in the description. And don't forget to hit the subscribe button for more tips on bad credit and all things bad credit mortgage related, and we will see you in the next video.